There's a sense that anyone that's buying a prestige electric German EV at the moment, it's a bit like buying a laptop in 1992. It's going to be obsolete within an hour.
Yeah. All right, Chris, it's been an interesting year. What's the best car you've driven? But I'm going to give you some rules first. It has to be a car that's launched in the last 12 months.
Well, that's not helpful.
Well, I know, but no Toyota Yaris GR,
Okay,
GR
yeah.
Yaris.
Yeah.
That's off. So is there a car that's impressed you the most?
Well, there are three that seem to stand out, one of which I've not driven yet. I want to drive the Hyundai i20N because you and the crew tell me how good it is.
It's superb, yeah.
And I love a hot hatch. So I suspect that would be it, but I haven't driven it yet, so
Okay.
I can't vote for that. The other one I can't vote for is the Polestar 1, which I was late to party on. But why didn't anyone tell me how brilliant that thing is? But I know I was launched in 2019.
Why is it so brilliant? Just quickly.
Because it's the only hybrid that's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Every other hybrid is a hybrid, whereas this is a hybrid because it does both. Because you can do 80 miles on electric, and then you've got a super fast petrol engine.
Yeah.
It just happens to be left-hand drive at 150 grand, so it's not really a car for the masses.
Yeah.
But it is sensational motor
as an
vehicle.
idea,
And it's got a
works.
flux capacitor in the boot as well, which I love. Because I like to bring it back to the real level. The two standouts for me are GT3 and that Huracán STO.
Yeah.
And I can tell you why now I choose the Porsche. Because the Huracán actually is a more exciting motor vehicle, can't believe I'm saying that. It's one of those things that just makes you feel alive. We just shot the TV film on Tuesday, and you know, putting big third, fourth gear transitions in it shows A, how much balance it's got, and what a riot it is. And that engine, I mean, wow, what an engine. But
The way it looks?
I can live with the way it looks, actually, because it looks ridiculous, but it's so good from behind the wheel, I don't care. And when you look like this, you know, it doesn't really matter. But the tyre ain't good enough. It's a Bridgestone, it's a great company, I know, but it just shows you how far ahead Michelin is.
Yeah.
If you put bolts and Michelins on it, it would be better than a GT3, but at the moment, the GT3 gets it.
Just on the GT3, touring, manual gearbox.
I'd have a touring with a manual gearbox because I think these cars should be used. I get hammered for the fact I don't have a wing on my GT3, but you drive it every day, and these cars should be driven every day. The number of clowns that park them in garages, get out and drive the bloody thing.
How many miles on your GT3?
47,000. I'll tell you a curious thing about a GT3 touring, or GT3 with a manual gearbox, the 991 version. The gear knob and the metal bit on the front last 12,000 miles. Every 12,000 miles, it falls apart, and you have to glue it back in again, or start again. So mine's like Trigger's broom now.
Oh, wow.
But the rest of the car, bang on. It just keeps going.
All right, let's have some different categories. Let's break it down. What's the fastest car you've driven this year?
The fastest car I've driven this year would be the SF90.
By the way, as a motoring journalist, these are the questions that strangers fire at you in the pub, and it's quite annoying.
Yeah,
Best car you've ever driven.
but luckily I don't remember those conversations, so this one I will, or I'll get it played back to me. So SF90 by a mile. That is a monster.
Yeah, I mean,
in a straight line, you watch the numbers on the dash and think, and you also get that pain in your kidney, don't you? When you can see, oh, what was that? And the other one is 765 LT. That is napping quick. And I want to make a note of that because that's in the forthcoming TV series as well.
Yeah.
That's not the same car that I drove with you 2 years ago.
Of course, yeah, Speed Week, Anglesey.
I think it's a very different machine.
Oh yeah,
I think it's
a bit friendlier.
Yes,
maybe they took notes.
I think the car's gone away and had a bit of a rethink because I really enjoyed it. It's still hampered by that Trofeo R Pirelli, which isn't as good as the Michelin again. I'm not sponsored by Michelin. Actually, people don't even like me, but actually I do like their tyres. So those are the two that stand out. But I've not driven a silly hyper nutter recently.
Well, I drove the Pininfarina Battista.
But that's a Rimac,
week.
Isn't it? Basically,
it's a Rimac underneath with the Pininfarina body and some tweakage. And so I lined it up on the straight, floored it. You know, almost brought my breakfast back up. You know, made a Turbo S seem slow. Looked down, I wasn't even in the top mode. So you can basically dial in more power. I had about 1,200.
What's the range on it?
300. If you drive super carefully.
Is it?
WLTP 310, but it's also 2 million quid. Right, best electric car.
The best electric car I've driven the last 3 years is the Tesla Model 3, and it is every year.
Yeah.
Because for me, the electric car isn't predicated on just what it's doing; it's the infrastructure around it, and you can't beat the supercharger network. It's just unbeatable.
Yeah.
So there is that. That's a boring answer. That e-tron GT, I just loved. It was a bit more lobbable than the Taycan, which I found odd. Again, the way that they can configure these things, you almost wonder whether every single car can be different. They can just turn up with an engineer and go, oh, he likes it to do that, we'll give him that.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of that story about the Ford press office back in the 80s. Someone went in there to get something, and there was a set of dampers that just said Cropley on it.
It'll be a setting, won't it? Sort of normal, wet, sport, croppers.
Yeah, so I really loved that car, and I tried to buy one, and it was quite difficult to buy one. So either it's very popular, or they didn't want me to buy one. But I also think it's uncommonly beautiful.
Yeah. Luxury car. What have you driven that's luxurious?
Well, this sounds awful. I spend a bit of time sitting in the back of an S-Class.
New one, obviously.
No, last one.
Oh, really?
I'm not even sat in the new one. But the last S-Class is better than the new 7 Series, the new... They're so far ahead of the game in terms of what is required of a car of that type. Yeah. I do look at the new S and just think it's absolutely stunning as well. If one pulled up at the fuel station, it is. They're brilliant at that. I went in an old Phantom recently as well. I drove an old one. I did own an old Phantom as well. That was a disaster.
Is that the one where the fuel pump went?
Fuel pump, steering rack. Steering rack was $7,000. That was nice. But have you driven an EQS?
EQS, not yet. No. So that's S-Class with 400 miles range.
What do you think to the nomenclature? Can you deal with the EQs? You have to stand there and go EQE, EQA,
EQA, EQB. Just
EQB.
Just go through. There's EQB, EQG.
Yeah, EQG is going to be interesting.
EQGs, yeah, that looks quite cool. Have you seen the press photography for that?
Yeah.
It's the most bizarre thing ever. It's basically they've dressed up people in spacesuits.
Yeah, look, it's a moonscape, isn't
it? Yeah. All right, worst car.
I have to think, really.
Yeah, it's not an easy question.
Objectively, the worst car I've driven is probably the Lada Niva that we had on the show. But that's also one of my favourite cars. It's just a bundle of joy.
There's a point when bad becomes good, isn't there?
Exactly. I'm a big Merc fan, as you know, but we had an EQC on a film, and the range on it was just dire. I don't know whether the car had an issue, but that was really disappointing.
Yeah, it's just big, heavy. There's not enough battery in it. It was rushed out because, I-Pace was there.
That Mercedes is a disappointment for me. It's not really fit for purpose if it'll only do that mileage. There's a sense that anyone that's buying a prestige electric German EV at the moment, it's a bit like buying a laptop in 1992. It's going to be obsolete within an hour. Yes. And you just feel sorry for people. But these are massive buying decisions. This is the second biggest purchase a family or a household makes after their house. And it's dead. It's a busted flush. Yeah. The moment they buy it, I mean, we're sitting on a bit of a subprime, aren't we? Yeah. So I'm racking my brains thinking of a bad car. Do
you know what?
There are so few.
That in itself is an answer because
they're really good at what they do.
Yeah, there's so few, isn't there? Yeah. All right, well, we'll end there. That was Harris's hot list.